Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today we're going to talk about the American retirement crisis and how this crisis is forcing some of these boomers to have to sell their property. And let me explain real quick, guys, why inflation is so bad for people that are retired. There's a significant amount of people around 60 plus that are on a fixed income like disability or social security. And what fixed income means is their income is the same every single month and normally does not change. Now, the reason that's so bad is inflation. When inflation happens, the cost of living goes up, yet the income that many of these boomers are making stays the same. So as a result of this fixed income, it's putting several Americans in a horrible situation. If we can't take care of our elderly, then we are a failure as a society. We absolutely need to take care of these people. So we'll break down that information, and then I'm going to break down in 20 percentiles just how bad a shape some of these boomers are in. Really touchy information here. And if you guys can, remember, I'm not a financial advisor, even though my bio is as a realtor, loan officer, and instructor in real estate in Texas. And if you guys can, please, for this effort, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, shoot me a comment below. And either way, I hope you enjoy. Let's start with this headline: retirement crisis. More Americans are about to turn 65 than ever before, and most will outlive their money. And it's better to outlive your money than the other way around, because that means they have money, right? So that's not necessarily a bad thing. As generations of Americans figure out who to blame for a faltering U.S. economy, individuals aged 57 to 65, younger boomers, face financial challenges of their own. The U.S. is about to reach peak 65 in 2024. Next year, you guys, we got inventory coming to the market from many different areas. One of them will be boomers. When more Americans reach age 65 in the same year than ever before, and a majority of them are not fully prepared for retirement. And then it goes on to this last bit here. I lost $400,000 in my retirement savings in a Roth 401k. The reason I read that highlighted part is, let's not forget, a lot of these retirees that had pension or 401ks lost a tremendous amount of money in the stock market over probably the last year and a half, which leaves a lot of these people with the remaining asset of their house. And if a lot of these retirees are struggling because they don't have enough money, what do you think they're going to do next? In my opinion, they're probably going to sell the assets that they have in real estate, because selling real estate right now is essentially a slam dunk. So when they need money, guess where they're going to go to get it? Boomers worried about a recession are selling their homes now. Pretty good article right here from Market Watch. Again, after this article, we'll go into the actual stats and details as far as income and assets for boomers. If you're on the cusp of retirement and you fear a recession is on its way, what steps should you take to protect your finances? For millions of Americans in this situation, one simple answer is sell your home while you still can. And that's the fear of missing out that we want to hit mainstream media. Now, that fear of missing out from the sellers actually got reset from February until right now. But you guys, just like last year, that's fixing to change and move into somewhere smaller or rent. About 13% of baby boomers, or roughly 1 in 8, told pollsters they had recently done just that, downsizing their home to reduce their cost in the face of a risky economy. And let me tell you guys something: the longer that rates are elevated, the longer that things are this unaffordable, more and more people will have no choice but to sell their assets, sell their properties in order to cash in so they can afford just to live. It's hard to fault that logic. These home prices surely can't last forever. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average sale price in the U.S. home is still a third higher than it was in late 2019, breaking all fundamentals. During the boom and just before the pandemic, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage was 3.7%. And you guys know that was way too low, and that really actually ended up hurting us. Today, 6.7. And in fact, as of when I'm reading this, rates are actually over 7% right now. Logic says either the mortgage rates have to fall a likely outcome in an economic downturn, or house prices will fall, or maybe both. And while you might not want to try to time the housing market if you're young or middle age, if you're in your late 50s or older, you won't have the same flexibility about timing. And that's where some of the forced selling comes in. Meanwhile, 26% of those surveyed said they plan to keep working full time, and 22% were planning to delay their retirement, in many cases by several years. And again, the inflation is really, really hurting people that are retired right now. There's no doubt about that. Some 758 people 59 and older were surveyed on behalf of Retirement Living, a website that reviews retirement-related products and services. According to the survey, the average boomer thinks they need $1.2 million to retire comfortably. The average had only $680,000. And averages can be very misleading. The average household headed by someone aged 55 to 64 has a net worth of 1.2 million. Sounds good? That number is skewed by the few very, very rich. That's why we're going to break down boomers into 20 percentiles so we can see the reality of what shape most people are actually in. And it's not good. The median household, meaning the one right in the middle, if you line them all up from the poorest to the richest, had just 214,000, 1/6 as much as they said the average was. As far as long-awaited recession, when will it start? Will it come at all? Economists disagree. Forecasts are notoriously unreliable. During the global financial crisis of 07 and 08, for example, many professional economists were still insisting the US was going to be okay months after the recession had already begun. Similar to what's potentially happening right now, minus the confirmed recession. The money markets currently see inflation and interest rates tumbling in 2024. That could mean inflation has been defeated, or the economy has gone into a recession, or both. Meanwhile, for those nearing retirement, the smart strategy is Jack Reacher's hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. To be quite frank, if I'm retired and I saw house prices go up almost 50% in 2.5 years, you guarantee that I'm selling some or all of my property to cash in. And guess what I'll do with that money, y'all, when I cash in? What will I do with that money right now? I'm gonna put it in T-bills because they're yielding 5% right now. So again, if I'm retired, I'm cashing out the housing market, I'll let it reset, I'm putting my money in T-bills, and then when the housing market crashes, I may buy some more real estate again. Who knows? But one thing is if I'm retired on a fixed income and I'm struggling, there's no way that I'm going to finish out my life struggling. I'm going to cash in and I'm going to have a great life, or as good as I can make it financially. But now let's take a look at the actual statistics for boomers. And we're going to do that by accessing this great article right here from the National Council on Aging. This will be linked in my description. Really, really good stuff here, you guys. Addressing the nation's retirement crisis, the 80%. Key takeaways, and then I'll go into the stats. Today's 65-year-old can expect to live another 20 years according to the Social Security Administration. 80% of households with older adults, or 47 million, a whole bunch, right? 47 million of such households are financially struggling today or are at risk of falling into economic insecurities as they age. That's a far cry from the last article we read that mentioned 1.2 million is the average in assets. Optimizing Social Security, accessing benefits, improving long-term care, and using home equity are 4 ways retirees can maximize their savings. U.S. wealth gap widening. 47 million older American households facing financial risk. Our 2023 updated analysis revealed that most older Americans continue to lack the resources that would allow them to weather a financial shock, which is what we're going through right now, such as a significant long-term care need, health issues, or loss of income due to divorce or widowhood. The analysis of 2018 data previously found that 80% or 47 million households are struggling with finances. 47 million people, you guys. Let's take a look at how they came up with this data. The true scope of financial insecurity in retirement. To better understand the financial landscape of older American, researchers at NCOA and the Leading Age LTSS Center, UMass Boston, annualized the latest data from the Health and Retirement Study. And they surveyed 20,000 Americans. Now let's see what the data says. Hopefully you can see this pretty good, you guys. This is older adult households divided into financial quantiles based on net value and total wealth. So basically 20%, okay, so this first section right here represents 20% of the people surveyed. So look at this, guys. 20% of the people surveyed only have a household income of less than $17,000. They have zero net value from a primary residence, zero household financial assets, and zero savings. Listen to, again, how much of a failure are we to society to allow 20% of the boomers to have essentially only a $17,000 yearly income source with zero assets? That is shocking and that is sad. Now, moving on over to the next column. So another 20% has $27,000 as far as annual income. They have $45,000 as far as net value on their primary residence and $2,000 in other assets. Total net wealth is $39,000. That's nothing, you guys. But essentially, their entire assets are in their household. So if they're struggling and the only way to access that $45,000 is to sell their houses, what are they going to do? They're going to sell their houses and they're going to cash in on that $45,000. But we can already tell that 40% of retirees, you guys, are barely hanging on. That is a crisis. In the middle, the retirees have around $40,000 they make a year. That's it. And again, this is the middle. They have $115,000 in net value in their primary residence and additional assets of $16,300, total assets of $150,000. So we know already the first 60%, most of their assets, most of the value, most of their emergency funds are not in the bank. Most of their emergency funds are locked in to their residences. And again, when they struggle, the more and more time goes on, the more and more inflation sticks around, the more and more of these people will struggle and cash in on their houses. Towards the top of this, retirees are making about $52,000 and they have $220,000 built into their house, an additional $130,000 probably in a retirement account or 401k for a total savings of $369,000. That's it. The top tier being a net value of $1.8 million. So in conclusion, you guys, there's a tremendous amount of people in retirement age that are struggling. And in my opinion, something needs to be done about that. Now, they will start selling their houses, like I said, and cash in because honestly, it seems like the most logical thing that they should do. Now, I also want to say this, and this is why it's generally so much better to own versus rent. Generally, if you retire but you own a house, you're going to have that $300,000 in assets. And generally, if you retire with 3 to 4 houses, you're going to retire a millionaire. So it's especially important, you guys, overall to invest and own real estate. It's just right now, as you can see from the stats, as you can see from the run-up and the inflation, it's just a really horrible time for most people in most markets to purchase right now. More than likely, that's going to continue to get worse well into 2024. Now, other than that, guys, I hope you guys got some new value, insights, and perspective today. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.